Good evening. This is Jorge Cardenas, your host of this video series, Healing Addiction is Fast and Easy. Today I am going to begin the third phase of this video series, in which I simply take the most common questions that I find when I lecture and try to explain how to proceed within the process of healing the addiction. I wanted to emphasize before I begin that one's reality, your addiction, is the result of your thinking. And the process that I teach is the creative force. And so the addiction begins with your thinking, because the addiction is the outcome. And so the process has 4 steps: thought, word, action, and outcome. And the interesting thing about the creative process is that the thought is equal to the outcome. And if you have any questions about this, please refer to the first few videos in order for you to understand this process. And so the second thing is that in order to change the thinking, in order to create a different outcome, one must begin by changing the thinking. The changing of the thinking requires an external force that is called accountability. When someone holds you accountable, then it is much easier to change our own thinking. So for example, if I do not want to be an alcoholic, I want to put myself in a position of being held accountable. This accountability is placed on you by a person who knows the correct thinking, which in this case would be the so-called sponsor. And the relationship between the sponsor and the addicted person is what we call the meeting. Now, it may be a public meeting, it may be a private meeting, it may be a phone call, but there has to be some form of interaction between the sponsor and the sponsee, whereby the sponsor corrects the thinking of the addicted person in order to affect the change. The addicted person then has the responsibility of simply repeating the new corrected and improved thinking. Now that we have that in mind, I wanted to go through some of the common questions that I've been asked when I lecture. And the first one that comes to mind, it was by a person in a group who reads, "I know I'm an alcoholic. Why it is so hard for me to accept the first step?" Now, the creative force is not a denial force, but it is a force that creates a different reality depending on the change that you occur. And so when the person says, "I know I'm an alcoholic," if I repeat the thought, "I'm an alcoholic," then the outcome is that I'm going to be an alcoholic. And according to the Cardenas law that says that your brain is going to make you choose only the actions that complete the thought, if you had to choose between drinking and not drinking, because you continually repeat that you're an alcoholic, you are going to choose drinking, because drinking fulfills the thought, "I'm an alcoholic," and produces the outcome of alcoholism. So the sponsor in this case, one would have to say that the thought has to be changed, and the thought doesn't have to be, "No, I'm not an alcoholic." I don't think that denying the presence of alcoholism is the key, but you have to move and change the thought. And my recommendation is to say, "I'm a recovering alcoholic. I am a healing alcoholic, and in the process of healing, I am a non-alcoholic in training, but let's just stay with I am a recovering alcoholic." If I begin to repeat, "Okay, I'm going to my meeting with my sponsor," and I begin to repeat, "I'm a recovering alcoholic, I'm a recovering alcoholic, I'm a recovering alcoholic," my brain is going to let me choose the actions that fulfill the thought, and therefore if I have to choose between drinking and not drinking, I am going to be leaning toward the non-drinking. And therefore, I am going to feel the power. I'm going to feel the desire, the craving, if you will, to stay away from alcohol. And so the moment I'm able to affect the change of not drinking, I'm going to be even more motivated to repeat in the fact that I am being healed. Now, the problem with using denial, when I say I am not an alcoholic, the problem is that the behavior will never change. If I say I don't have a problem, and I repeat that thought, I don't have a problem, my outcome will never change. And so you're welcome to repeat I don't have a problem, but I don't suggest that to repeat that thought, because by the creative force the outcome is identical. And if I say I don't have a problem, I end up with the same outcome that I had before, which you may not see your problem, but other people see it. And so I want to make sure that you understand this important step, that when I have a problem, let's say whether I'm addicted to pills or to alcohol or to, it's not that I am going to be denying the problem. I simply take the problem, I'm an alcoholic, and flip it, change it in such a way that is going to be giving me a different outcome. I was an alcoholic. I am a recovering alcoholic. I don't have to specifically have to address the alcohol. I simply have to empower myself over the alcohol. I suspect that if you claim you're an alcoholic, you also repeat some thoughts like, alcohol and I are best friends. I need a drink. I am an extrovert when I am drinking. I am happier when I drink. And if you repeat any of these thoughts, you can easily predict that you're going to be drinking. So the important thing, number one, is to recognize that your behavior is caused by whatever thoughts you are repeating. And if you do not recognize those thoughts, if you keep on repeating the same old thoughts, you are going to get the same old outcome. And that's why it's very important to recognize the problem that you're going to change. My suggestion is to use the following thought. I am stronger than any addiction. If I begin to repeat I'm stronger than any addiction, and I simply repeat it all the time, then I am going to be able to resist alcohol, pills, marijuana, porn, and any other addiction that is causing a destructive outcome in my life. Now, the last thing I want to say. The power of the thought lies on the number of times that you repeat it. Now, later on, in the next video, I'm going to teach you to pray. If you are of the spiritual affiliation, or if you are just taking this video series in a very humanistic way. And the power of the repetition is what gives the power of the thought. So let me just go through some quick math and so you understand. Assuming that you began drinking at age 16 and that you have been having problem and that you are now 36, that 20 years have gone by, and in those 20 years, each year you have said, I need a drink 1,000 times a year. You have accumulated 20,000 thoughts against you. Now, I would have to repeat 20,000 thoughts against alcohol in order to be able to break that attraction that I am, that is causing my addiction. So I would have to repeat, I am stronger than any addiction, or I hate alcohol, I don't need alcohol, 20,000 times in order to be able to lose the power that the alcohol had over me. Pay attention that I used the past tense. I said had over me because I have the power to change it with a thought. So if I sit down in a chair and I repeat continuously 20,000 times, alcohol has no power over me, 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 it's going to take a very short time to reach the 20,000. Now, I want you to know that the 20,000 is a number that I pull out of thin air. I don't know how long you've been saying it, and I do not know how often you've been saying it. But I know one thing. The more you say it, the truer it becomes. So the power lies in the numbers. So my suggestion for the person that asked this question is, sit down, even by yourself, in a church with your sponsor, take a walk, and at every step repeat and repeat all the time, I am stronger than any addiction in my life. If you have any questions, if you have any problems, please don't hesitate to contact us through the Facebook page, because we are not really following any comments that are made on YouTube. Thank you.